I have a reflection to talk about what my mom said about September 11th, 2001, on the day of, the morning of. Because one thing that kept hitting my head is I woke up right when an image of the second plane hitting the tower. I can't get that out of my head because that was the first thing I saw in the morning. And my mom told me that same morning, why do they keep showing these images? This is horrible for the victims. This is horrible for the people that are dying, and this is horrible for anybody that's part of the families. This is horrible for anybody in general. And it makes me recognize now how deeply much it it's an understanding now, the understanding of pain of my own and the abuse that she went through in her own lifetime, and that after all these years, I am no longer interested in hanging on to it like that anymore, because that's what I remember most, is seeing that plane, is hearing her voice, which I still do, saying that. That's where compassion and sentiment comes from. And excuse me while I look at my journal for a moment, because I literally was writing my journal today, thinking about this and recognizing how deeply much that pretty much my writing is the closest I've been to the people around me in my life. That pretty much everybody in my life has mean world syndrome drawn all over them. That they're all acquaintances, distant relatives, and peripheral relationships around me. And that's all they ever are. And they're not anything closer, even though they're around my entire life. And they ask for so much. And that's what I recognize now when I look back at what happened with my mom and my grandma. And I remember the conversations with my mom and my grandma, especially while young, at 10 years old. My grandma talked about things like the birds and the bees, and me having questions about that and saying, hey, what if I'm interested in having a long term relationship and not her idea of things? Well, that's for me. That's only for our generation, not for you. And just questioning out of curiosity. And I'm no longer curious about my grandma. And realizing that again and again, all that came up after was, hit me then, hit me. And that was the last things that she would say to me constantly. And I realized I can't go around in circles with this anymore, with this person anymore. I'm just no longer curious. I'm just no longer curious. And the same thing with my mom. I'm happy right now. Why do you have to bring that up? And I just want to say, and now all I think is, I hope you really are happy rather than set back by happiness. Mom, I really hope you are happy than set back by the happiness, because everything I ever did was to be closer to everybody I'm with. And I realized all they were peripheral relationships that were just nearby me. They weren't anything more than that. And same thing with my brother. Same thing with Jean-Pierre. Same thing with Paula. Same thing with Francesca. They're just distant relatives, no matter how long we've been around each other. Acquaintances that never were anything close to me. And that's why it could deteriorate so fast. I remember grandma used to say, you start with blood, you end with blood. But that's actually a violent image when you hear it. A violent image. And I don't want to do that image. Not in personal life. I understand strife in business. But I realize now that strife is not worth it in day-to-day life and personal life. And that's why I want to say right now, I I forgive you all. I'm not curious anymore. I'm not curious about my mom, my brother, my grandma, about anybody around them. I have no expectations of any of you. So I just want you all to know that out there. Any of you that are watching this, any of you that are not watching this, that have doubts about it, that think you're not thinking for yourself, Marcello. Good, good. I'm glad you think that. It's wonderful that you think that, because I think it's wonderful that you all think that too. And I'm grateful that you have that kind of thinking too. And I'm grateful that I can now say thank you for 38 years of time together. Goodbye.